All right, welcome back. We are reconvening from our executive session. Mr. DeMeglio, if you can lead us in the pledge after Ms. Taylor puts the flag up.
Ready?
Okay,
I
pledge allegiance
To the flag of the
to the
United
United
States
States of
of
America
America,
and to the republic
for which it stands, one nation, under God,
indivisible,
with liberty and justice
justice
for all.
The New Jersey Open Public Meetings Law was enacted to ensure the right of the public to advance notice and to attend the meetings of public bodies at which any business affecting their interests is discussed or acted upon. In accordance with the provisions of the Act, the Fort Lee Board of Education has caused notice of this meeting to be published on April 2nd, 2020, and posted on the district website at www.flboe.com, published in the board's designated online media outlet newspaper, The Record, filed with the clerk of the Borough of Fort Lee, and mailed to all persons, if any, who have requested said notice. Please be advised that this meeting is being taped and may be broadcasted on local TV and the district's website at a future date. By law, the state of New Jersey has vested tremendous discretion in the board to do whatever is necessary to conduct its business. NJSAA 18A 11-1 allows boards to make, amend, and repeal rules not inconsistent with this title or with the rules of the state board for its own government and the transaction of its business, and for the government and management of the public schools and public school property of the district. The Open Public Meeting Act allows for remote participation at board meetings and defines meetings as any gathering, whether corporeal or by means of communication equipment, which is attended by or open to all members of a public body, held with the intent on the part of the members of the body present to discuss or act as a unit upon the specific public business of that body. Roll call, please.
Ms. Cho.
Here.
Go back. I see Ms. Colback. Mr. DeMeglio.
here.
Ms. Morel.
Here.
Ms. Richter.
Here.
Ms. Ramba.
Here.
Mr. Rubino.
Here. 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 Yeah, we know you're here.
Mr. Rubino.
He's on mute.
Here.
Okay, I see Mr. Rubino. Yes.
Here.
Ms. Han Silver.
Here.
You have quorum.
All right. The board convened executive session at 6:45 today to discuss legal, personnel, and other confidential matters. May I have a motion to conduct a Zoom public meeting?
Motion.
Second Ramba.
Okay, motion by Mr. Rubino, seconded by Mrs. Ramba. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstentions? All right. Seeing none, Mr. Rhoda, will you begin by sharing the superintendent's report?
Thank you, Ms. Silver. Tonight we have our HIB report. We had 2 investigations that were completed since the last meeting. One was to be founded. The consequences and results of those investigations were discussed with the board in closed session. And secondly, our fire and security drills for February have been posted on the board chair site. We have a bit of a challenge with the March drill dates because we missed half of the school month. We're waiting to hear from the DOE regarding the requirement for meeting those drill requirements, because we are required to have drills in the summer, even when the school is not in session. So I'm not sure if we're going to be relieved of those drill requirements for March and April. We're waiting to see. The only thing I would report is that we are in week 4 of our online instructional program. My best thing I could tell you is we are making progress. The teachers are working, the students are working, and we are moving in the right direction. A challenge for a lot of staff and probably for a lot of families as well. But we are moving, I think, in the right direction and continue to provide education for those students. That's all I have, Ms. Silver.
Okay, great, thank you. Do board members have any questions or comments on tonight's agenda or any other topic?
I just had a quick one, Ms. Han Silver. I just had a question about the free and reduced meals. I was curious how many we usually offer in the district when we're only feeding 25 to 30 now. I can't imagine that that's the only number we have.
So there are around 650 free and reduced families in the
Right.
district. What I've heard from other business administrators, Candy, is that many of their numbers are low. We have received communications from parents that actually state they'd rather not risk going out. So that's part of the challenge is the anxiety that everyone's feeling about going out anywhere. Secondly, the Jersey Mike's statewide have offered free lunch meals to students from the hours, I think, of 11 to 1. So those two factors are impacting the folks that are actually coming to pick up the meals. One of the things that Ken and I discussed last week were those low numbers and what we could do, if anything, to get the word out, increase the numbers. We want to make sure that we are offering it to those who need it.
Right.
We want to make sure that those who need it can access it. So
Right,
what,
because so many people are raising money for them, and we're thinking 25 or 30, but it's really a lot more people than that that need the money. We need the food.
so
Correct.
a couple of things. The fundraiser is really a PTA thing. So I'll reserve my comments on that because what we want to do is kind of make sure that we're separate from that.
Right.
What we've shared with the PTA is that we would reach out to administrators to get information to them on the neediest families. And so that we're basing on the folks who are actually showing up. One of the things that Ken and I discussed last week was how to increase participation, assuming that perhaps there are some folks who would like the meals and just they're not accessible. We did a survey to all of the 650 parents, asking them if we opened another site for meal distribution, if they would be more inclined to pick it up. There were over 100 responses. 52 of those said they would be more inclined to pick up a lunch meal if we open the site at the middle school. So we are planning to do that as of Monday the 13th.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
There are also, Candy, just so you know, a couple of other restaurants that are offering meals to students in town, and we've sent out all that information. In addition, I just want to remind people that if there are people who are in need and having problems, whatever it is, whether it's food or household items or just some support, they can contact the district, the town's COVID-19 call center, and those that number of staff, they're taking calls every day and emails, just trying to provide any kind of help they can for people in town. So the OEM has done a great job manning that call center and really trying to provide support to all the residents in town for whatever reason they need us.
On that note, I just want to publicly applaud the PTAs and community members that have put these efforts together, as well as Ken, your team, the administration, and all of the teachers, as we're in week 4 of distance learning, uncharted territory. And I'm really proud of the way everyone has risen to the occasion. And my own sons have really been getting quality instruction from their teachers, and we appreciate you guys.
Thanks, Lauren.
That's great. Right.
Okay. There's no one else. I will move on. And
I have a question.
oh, okay.
Is it okay to?
Not yet. Not yet. Hold on one second.
Got it.
Okay. I'll give you a chance. Give me 1 second. May I have a motion to open the floor to the public?
Motion.
Rambo.
Hello, Luba.
Okay, I know I think I saw, I have Ramba and I saw Kristen raise her hand, so motion.
Esther, I got kicked out of the meeting. I had a question on 3F.
Oh, okay, all right. Oh, go ahead, Paula.
Paula, you can type out your question in the chat box. You're freezing up.
Oh, okay. Did you hear my question?
No.
Not yet.
Are substitutes included in 3F?
No.
And,
Paula, we're unable to hear you. You may want to log on with your phone if you're using your laptop. Sometimes the phone Wi-Fi for some reason seems to be clearer. We are unable to hear you.
Keisha, the question I heard was, are subs included in Resolution 3F? They
Yes.
are included?
No, they're not. I heard you.
Right. And Paula, they are not included in 3F.
Long-term subs are, Ken, those that are teaching,
Right.
but substitutes on a day-to-day basis are not.
that we should be considering that too. I would be interested in what other districts have done and what our municipality is doing.
Paula, can you repeat that? You were going in and out.
Yeah. So I'm in favor of 3F, but I think given the reality of the situation, that the individuals are not performing any services, and given that our taxpayers, many of them have lost jobs, taken pay cuts, been furloughed, experiencing, all the terrible things that are happening, that group should there should be some recognition of the financial situation, and that those amounts should be reduced, not significantly, but there should be some recognition, and it should be reduced, in my mind, by 20%. So that we show our taxpayers we're not just paying people who aren't working because of the situation. We want, we want to help them out through this tragedy, but we're also recognizing that they're not doing anything.
I was asked that same question by a couple people, people in public asked me if everyone was still getting paid. And but it's similar to what Paul asked.
The hourly aides, the paraprofessionals are doing extra training. Now, obviously, it's not the same amount of hours they normally put in, but they are doing training. Specifically, some of the special education aides are receiving extra online training through a variety of sources. As we expand our programs, they're given more responsibilities, and we're trying to provide more training for that. As far as the co-curricular in the other sense, really the only one that directly impacted are the spring coaches. The coaches are still coaching. They're not coaching
Isn't that
hands-on.
stipend? That's 4F. That's the stipend.
Right. Well, I see them, they're connected. So the paras are doing some work, obviously not to the same level as they normally would. And the other people, the coaches are still doing online coaching as best they can meeting with their teams and providing activities for the student athletes to be prepared in the event that we do end up having some type of spring season.
Okay.
So are the paraprofessionals in touch with the students? I mean, are they reaching out to help them?
As appropriate, they are, Holly. If there are one-to-one aides and paras doing that, and if it's, under a certain situation, obviously parents have to be present, whatever else, the aides are providing some extra help. But that's really on a case-by-case basis.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
We are hearing someone's background, so if you can mute your microphone, that'd be great, if you are not speaking. Is there other board member conversation regarding the public work session?
So, I mean, what is the board's thinking on 3F? I can see you trying to wave your hand, Holly, but you're on mute.
I had to unmute myself. I muted because Hakisha told me to mute, so I did. I think what Paul is saying is a valid point, only because because of what's going on in the world, because there's so many people that have gotten laid off and you know, don't even know how they're paying their mortgage or anything, which unfortunately is still due, and their property taxes are still due. I really don't think it's so far-fetched. If I'm correct, I believe that a lot of people that are in the city that are still working are taking, for this period, decreases. I could be wrong. I mean, the people that work in the city can talk about it. But I don't think it's such a far-fetched idea. And as far as the stipends are concerned, I've always considered stipend as an extra. It's not that they don't do the work, and they work very hard, the coaches do, and you know, and everybody that gets a stipend does. But considering that all the clubs aren't happening, I have a hard time giving a lot of people, I don't know.
I'm on the opposite side of both of those.
Yeah.
I am, yeah.
I want to say, though, that honestly, I understand what you're saying, but these are individuals that make the least amount of money out of all the employees of the district. Some of these part-time paraprofessionals, annual amount is about, correct me, Keisha, 23, 24.
21?
I think that's at the
So,
top 24. I think something more like 20 or 21.
right. So you're talking the lowest paid out of everybody. And when you're talking about all these people who are getting furloughed, laid off, now you're just adding to those numbers, because then that's what we're doing. We're basically furloughing and laying off a chunk of people. And honestly, I understand about, the people, the residents of the town, but us not paying these aides isn't going to help the residents.
Right.
Because their tax bill isn't going to change.
So
Yeah, I understand what you really want to do.
Can I add on too that they're on call. So if we expect, if we are able to go back later in April or in May, we're going to need them to jump in and pick up where they left off.
Right.
So we're voting on a resolution tonight. It's 3B. And the assembly on March 25th, by a unanimous 79-0 vote, said that school districts, because there is a state of emergency, the municipality will not have to pay over to the school districts our 60% share that the municipality collects for us. That hasn't been approved yet by the Senate, but there was no controversy, 79-0 in the assembly. So as a district, we are at risk of not getting the money that we're entitled to in a timely fashion. And so we've got to be thinking down the road. This is a reality, and this wasn't a close call. It was very quickly approved, and we're voting on a letter to take a stand against it tonight, 3B. But this is gonna, you can't you gotta take into account that we may not even have the money that we're entitled to, and it's gonna create a huge crisis for school districts. And so, money is just not growing on trees. They're trying to prevent us from getting the money that we think we're entitled to at this point. So I just think, we're stewards of taxpayer money, and I understand they make the lowest, and I'm not saying take away their pay, but the reality of the economic situation out in the world, everyone is feeling a lot of pain. And so I don't feel good paying 100% of what someone was getting part-time who's on call. These people are coming back to work. They cannot work anywhere else right now, all right? It's not like they're all gonna go start working for the district next door. And I feel very passionate about it because, you know, we're taking, not our money, we're taking our neighbors' money and paying people who are at home. And you know, in light of Resolution 3B, where we may not get the money that we need, I just think we have to be wiser financially.
But you're worrying about other people and then you want to take money away from the part-time? Is that what I'm understanding?
For those people that we're paying that are not showing up and not delivering and not working right now, I'm suggesting
yeah.
rather than paying them 100%
Uh-huh.
of what they would normally get if they were working, that be reduced by 20%.
Okay.
And if my understanding of 3B is correct, and I'm definitely in support of our position on it, the idea is that this is if cities or municipalities absolutely have to do some sort of emergency something or other, and that they can't collect all of the taxes at the time, so it won't be now it has to go through the Senate again, etc. But that it's really a hopefully an unlikely possibility for most municipalities.
I mean, it permits municipalities to delay payments to school districts, period. And municipalities, I think, will, I mean, we've already seen that the money that we're getting from the pilot, because there was delay in tax payments and what have you, we've already been hit by the tune of $300,000 or $400,000 that we thought we would have by June 30th. And our municipality, just before any of this surfaced, had some issues with paying what we expected to get. I mean, I think because it passed and the vote was unanimous, that this is something they really want to empower municipalities to do. And I think, you know, there's a risk, and whether it's going to, I hope it never comes to be, but the facts, you know, they are what they are. And so we're learning. Trenton is in favor of us not getting, and it's not, they're not saying, oh, don't give them 20%. They're going to be able to withhold 60% because that's what our municipal government collects on our behalf. That's a big number. Of course, we would go to the mayor, we would plead, we'd beg, we'd do whatever is necessary, but we don't know. I mean, this situation is costing our community a lot of money. We have people on, you know, our first responders are working like around the clock. There are going to be unexpected needs that our municipality has. And so, and again, I'm in favor of paying people who aren't working. I'm just saying there has to be a reflection, and everyone has to share in this pain, not just my neighbors and everyone around town who's lost their jobs, who've been furloughed, and who've taken pay cuts. We're a community, and everyone has to suffer a little bit of the pain. And many of my neighbors all around are suffering in one way or the other. I mean, you read in the news today, Mr. Bazzarelli, my neighbor, just died of COVID. And he's got, his daughter lived with him with 2 twins. And I mean, and they've got it. So everyone is experiencing, you know, tragedy and economic pain. And I'm just suggesting that our employees, when we control the money, and this money is from our neighbors, we have to recognize the situation. And I think we just need to think hard about it. And I think it's totally appropriate under the circumstances. If you think 20% is too much, then it's 10. If you think 20 is not enough, you know, but I think that there has to be a recognition on behalf of the people that we serve, the taxpayers, and these people will be paid for their sitting at home doing what they'd like. And on call is not delivering services. And I'm just suggesting a recognition of the substantial reduction in their daily responsibilities. That's it.
The only thing I would jump in and add, and maybe Dennis can speak to this, or maybe, you know, he and I maybe both need to do research before we speak to this. Paula, I'm not quite sure we can change people's contracts and reduce them at will. In other words, I don't know if we can legally change someone's pay from 21,000 to 80% of that without.
Let's withdraw the resolution till we find out if it's even feasible. I mean, if we can't, and the option is to fire or pay, then obviously I'm in favor of paying them.
Dennis, are you on the line?
Yes, but I was on mute. And I am on the line. These are contracted for employees who, according to the superintendent and to you, Keisha, they're performing duties. And I will tell you that a number of districts in the state of New Jersey are doing likewise, in that they're paying hourly employees, and whether they're security officers, bus drivers, hourly aides, they're paying those individuals. On the one side, you could argue that they're not performing services, although in Fort Lee, it's my understanding they are performing services. And the flip side is Paula's argument, which I completely understand both sides of it. It's possible that you don't have the money because of 3902 and the bill could go through. So I can see both sides of this. I can tell you that to the extent that there would be some change to the hourly employees' compensation, the hourlies or your aides who are working FTE or part-time FTE, we're going to, if we make a change to that and it's not negotiated, we're certainly going to hear about it from the association. But you're in an unprecedented time where, nobody can look back and say, well, this is what happened in this time, because this has never happened before, where literally we're shut down. But I can see both sides of this argument. I can understand how you want to delay it, or how you could move forward with it, because again, both sides are rational and reasonable. Unfortunately, we're in just this timeline where it's very unique. I can tell you that most districts that I'm involved in are passing similar type resolutions with respect to their employees who are on roll with them. Now, when you get to third-party service providers who are doing OT, PT, and things like that, the boards of education are pumping the brakes a little bit, because you might owe compensatory services in the summertime to children who have IEPs. So, but with the individuals who are on staff with you, they've done it. The other thing to think about is if you were to not pay them and they were to go on unemployment, they're certainly going to file an unemployment claim, and that'll come back to you. Just comes back to you in a different way. So, I'm sorry.
We're not talking about firing them, so they would be ineligible on a.
So in any event, potentially yes, but if you were to reduce it, I think that you'd probably, if you're thinking about paying them something but reducing it, I think you'd want to have some understanding of what the relationship is between the withholding and what you're paying. I know that, Paula, for purposes of this discussion, you had suggested 20%, but I don't know what that would be based on.
Yeah, I'm of the mindset here. We're all working from home. I know for a fact that I'm lucky if I have 70%, if it's from my that's working from home for one reason or another. A lot of their families are children at home. They're being homeschooled. They're small. They're attending to their needs as well as work. And now we're asking for a balance of life and work. There's going to be a trade-off. You're speaking to 3B, which is fine, but it hasn't happened yet. So this is very fluid. And if that was to happen, it's just this group that's going to be, in one way or another, penalized from pay. We would have to look at the whole gamut of teachers, because we would lose 60% of our funding, and I don't think we have that in savings, and I know we don't, because we talked about that in another meeting. It's fluid. I think we should keep a mindful eye. I appreciate where you come from, actually, but at this point in time, I think it's necessary, but I defer.
We can hold the resolution and get some more information and see what the numbers actually look like.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think if if it did pass the Senate, we'd have to have a bigger discussion beyond just this
Right.
group. I think it would be a longer discussion with the board about a lot of other things.
Right.
Yep.
This also aides are all different. Like my aide helps me almost daily, you know, getting things put up for the kids and talking to the kids and reading to the kids. So I don't know what, you know, other aides are doing, you know.
I think Ms. Han Silver makes a very valid point, though. If A3902 does pass, we're going to have a whole nother
Right.
level of conversations.
Yep.
Yeah.
So are you recommending to pull 3F and 4F, Ken?
If that's the consensus of the board, I will go with it.
Why would 4F be included?
Yeah.
That's the stipends. It goes kind of like a hand-in-hand scenario.
Well, not exactly
I don't
how
think
it
so.
is. The stipended
Sorry, go ahead,
positions are paid when they're approved at the end of the year through the review process.
Right.
The co-curricular stipends, the activities have already been completed if they happened earlier in the year. And some are ongoing and some are, you know, located just in the spring. All the stipends would have to be looked at individually.
Yeah, wow.
You know, almost like if you're a coach, you coach a season, the fall, the winter, or the spring.
Yeah.
Some of the stipends work the same way. Now, some do go 12 or 10 months out of the year, but some of them are very time specific. So we'd have to look at all those individually as well.
Yeah, that could be a mess.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like, I mean, we have been paying them. I feel like until we make a decision, we should continue to pay them, right?
I agree with you, Esther.
Yes.
I feel like this is a time where no one has any idea what's going on. These people planned to be paid. We planned to pay them. I feel like we should just keep paying them. Some of them are working hard. I mean, I know in my district, they jump into the Google Classroom and help the teachers.
Right.
So if that's what they're doing, I mean, they're taking online training, they're working. Why should we punish just that small group?
The driver's 3B. When 3B comes to reality, everything changes.
Right.
Right. I think a lot of things will change.
That would be catastrophic.
So, Ralph, what you're saying
Why don't we
is
drivers to
that-
deliver all the lunches, 650 people that are entitled to them that aren't getting them?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that, Paula. Say it.
We have, earlier in the meeting, we have 6 are entitled free lunch. But because of one reason or another, they don't want to show up at the high school, they don't want to leave their house. We've got all these bus drivers, we own buses. Why aren't we having the bus drivers drive the lunches to our 650 families? Because they're on the clock, they're working. Why aren't we using them to drive buses in the community?
So we've talked with Pomptonian about that option, Paula, and that option would include, first of all, driving to 650 homes is we probably couldn't do that in a day. So what we talked about is perhaps creating stops. Pomptonian didn't recommend that we do that for a couple of reasons. One, they don't necessarily believe that the participation, the realized participation would increase as much as you anticipate.
Okay.
But even if it just increased to 50, that's a big difference.
Well, we thought we would try what I mentioned in, I don't know if it was exec session, but the first thing, we did a survey to the free and reduced families to see if we increased the number of sites where meals were delivered, if that would increase. 53, we received 53 affirmative responses that said that if meals were distributed from the middle school, they would participate. So we thought we'd start there.
Okay.
But there are so many factors that are impacting people not coming out for meals, including anxiety, that we thought we would start there before we started with a bus to deliver. But we have talked about that. There are other districts, Paula, that are doing that, like Emerson, but the number of free and reduced students they have, you probably could count on 2 hands. So logistically for a larger district like Fort Lee, we're not sure that that would be viable. Ken?
Yeah, remember, this is also kind of a fluid discussion as well, because originally we thought we'd be out 2 weeks, maybe 3. Now we're going on
Right.
4 and possibly more. So we're going to add the second site and see how the traffic flows there and see what kind of pickup rate we have. And then we can always add more as we go forward. We have to keep in mind that it's going to take Pomptonian a few days to staff up to prepare the meals. So there's some other factors to consider. Right now, they're working with a one-man crew. So they're going to have to bring some people in. But, that's why we wanted to offer the second location to see if it does have a big positive result. And if it doesn't, we'll have to keep looking at other options to reach other people.
Okay.
But to
I
your
got it. I mean, the board prefers to continue to pay them, so I'm on board with it.
What was
You know,
that?
I could appreciate Paula's thoughts on that. Is there talk of opening up maybe all the schools, school 1, 2, 3, 4, middle school, high school, to be, as far as the allocation of food goes? Perhaps that would ease the different parents in the different regions to walk over.
Well,
So-
remember, none of the elementary schools have a kitchen, Ralph.
Yeah.
So we'd have to use the middle school and the high school to prepare the meals. And then we would need staffing in each one of the buildings. Right now, we're required to have a custodian in any building that's occupied because of the boiler situation. So you need to have a Black Seal license. So we'd have to put somebody else in those buildings. And then we'd have to get Pomptonian to staff all those buildings.
And to Paula's point about sort of using staff, we are considering all of those ideas. One of the conversations I had with Mark and Scott of Pomptonian, as it relates to opening up the second site, the middle school, I asked if, as opposed to them including their staff as a person to distribute the meals, if we could use one of our staff or 2 of our staff. And so the answer, of course, was yes. So we're absolutely looking to see how we can utilize our existing staff that we believe due to COVID may be underutilized. A challenge that we will run into when you start talking about bringing people back to the district is everyone has anxiety. So there's some people that don't want to come into the district, and they would cite the executive order by the governor that says they shouldn't be here. So we also are dealing with an executive order that says everyone should be home, but yet we're asking people to come. So I've been talking with Jamie and other BAs to see, if we ask one of our underutilized staff members to come in, it probably would need to be on a volunteer basis. I don't necessarily, and I haven't spoken to Dennis on this or Ken on this yet, but I don't necessarily feel comfortable requiring, if I've got 10 people that are underutilized, how do I choose which one I want to come distribute lunch at the middle school? So it's a challenging
Pay them an
time.
extra 20%. Give them a 20% bonus.
Somebody just said a mess.
After hearing Esther and Ralph about 3B, I'm in agreement with passing 3F and 4F for now, because as they both said, we're going to have to revisit it at some time.
Right.
So, and at that time, we're going to have to make the decision. So it's kind of like premature now to do it when it's probably going to come down the line again anyway.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
All right. Any other questions or comments from the board? All right. I'm gonna, I think, I know we made a motion before to open the floor to the public. I believe it was Ramba and Richter, right? Yes.
I think so.
Who made and seconded the motion to open the floor to the public. All in favor?
Aye.
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 All right.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstentions? All right. I will have Board Secretary Hakisha Taylor will share how the public comment session will be conducted, because we're in Zoom, so you're not lining up to speak at the mic.
Thanks, Esther. There are 36 participants in this public board meeting. So I would like for all of you to use the raise your hand or raise hand feature. You select the raise hand feature by, in the middle of your screen at the bottom, there should be a participants icon. Select the participants icon. And then to the right corner, you will see the raise hand. Please select that if you would like to speak. I will then call your name, or I will lower your hand, and then you can speak. Please state your name and your address before you share your comment. I'm going to start with Kyle Sanford. I'm going to lower your hand and unmute you. Kyle.
Still muted, Peter.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. I just wanted to comment on the lunches. Just I know how New York does it. That New York does it for the schools. I know you guys said you only had 2 locations where you can make the lunch, prepare the lunch. Is that
Correct.
Correct. Right. Okay. So why couldn't we just take the buses and take them to the other 2 schools that don't prepare the lunch, and people could pick them up? Somehow pick them up. That would be a lot easier for everybody else to do, wouldn't that not? Would that, or would that not be? That's the way New York does it. So I'm
That's
just
what we
trying to-
do on a regular school day. We deliver the lunches from the high school to the other buildings by using our, actually the Pontonian staff drives a truck around town and delivers it to the other locations.
Correct. So why is that not feasible?
Initially, we did not have the demand for it. When we opened up the high school, we didn't have a large number of individuals coming to request the lunch. We were prepared the first week for 200 to 300 a day, and we ended up between 25 and 30. That was it. So we didn't have a real need at the time. Now we're trying to expand based upon our asking if there is more need. As I said, this is a constantly changing situation. So hopefully we'll be able to provide, like Ms. Taylor mentioned, we had 50 respondents. If we get 50 more lunches a day, that would be great. And then we could look to possibly expand to another location. We were looking at, we have the high school at the north end of town and the middle school at the south end. Necessary, maybe choosing somewhere in the middle or at the other extreme, maybe using school 3 or something else. But we're going to keep looking at the situation as it moves forward.
Sure. Now that we're utilizing Google Classroom, maybe it would be interesting if you could just contact the teachers and find out who would be interested. Well, everybody's
we're limiting it to the families that are qualified
right.
from the federal government for free and reduced lunch.
And about how many families is that?
It's over 600.
So, okay, so there you go. Maybe just ask the families that are.
We did that.
That's what we've been doing.
Okay.
Right.
All right. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Kyle. Next up is Luba.
Hi, Luba.
Unmuted.
I'm going to unmute. Hi, everybody. Sorry. First and foremost, I hope everybody on this call and your families are all healthy and well. I want to thank the board for keeping the wheels on this bus through this strange trip. And I don't think I'm saying anything revolutionary. It's been said. We expected to be out for 2 weeks and 4, and now we don't know when we are going back. So I want to be super respectful and really mindful, because no one knows what anyone's going through, educators, the board, everybody that's involved. And I know that a lot of folks in the lower grades, in the beginning grades, are having the appropriate instruction, interaction, and they're very happy with the instruction. I am as well. My daughters are in 6th and 8th grade. And I am wondering, because I think we're all really hoping that no one is going to be behind. It's not our biggest worry, right? Health, shelter, jobs, our biggest worry, but in terms of kids being behind, is there any thought being given to additional instruction in the exact manner that we're doing now? Perhaps not all the screens, but perhaps utilizing either Google Classroom or Hangouts or Zoom or any number of ways to really have instruction, because my experience, and I've kind of held back because this is a tough transition, but my experience is that my kids are done every day by 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, and I'm fearful of how far behind they will be. Again, it's not our biggest worry, but we do, I think we do worry about that as parents in terms of how far behind. And is there any thought, is there any discussion of having actual online instruction in some sort of manner instead of just giving assignments and what we've been experiencing now?
The discussion has been ongoing since the beginning, and I think it's a growth question. A lot of staff are getting more and more comfortable with doing that online instruction. And I think the amount of it is increasing probably almost every day. It was a big learning curve for all of us. Originally, we thought we'd have another day before we were forced to close, and suddenly the governor came out and said, you're closing. So our plan was at that time to have a full day of professional development just to allow the staff some growth. So they've been doing a lot of it on their own and with their colleagues through communication like this, like Zoom and other means. But I will tell you also that it is the number one thing already on my agenda for tomorrow morning's meeting with the principals to talk about.
Thank you.
Thank you, Luba.
Thank you.
Howard Lipoff.
Hi, thank you very much. As you know, I am Howard Lipoff. I'm the treasurer of the Fort Lee Education Association. It's nice to see everyone tonight.
Hi, Howard.
Hi, Howard.
Hello. There's a couple of matters that I'll go over very briefly. And although I know this assembly bill is a great concern, I think that it's not the intent of the sponsors to have districts not get their money. And something that passes the assembly often does not go much further than that. So I think we should be concerned, or you, and I know NJEA has expressed concerns, but I don't think it's a point to panic and think of not paying people as a result. And that's the main concern I have. I'm very pleased that it seems like these resolutions to pay everyone has board support, because especially with our paraprofessionals, let me just say they're our lowest paid employees. Most of them have no health benefits. And I'm just concerned that if we don't treat them as well, that many of them may leave. I know that the board has trouble finding people to take these positions, and I was quite interested that Mrs. Rampa and Mrs. Richter has said that in their districts the paraprofessionals are very helpful during this time of crisis. I honestly don't know what's going on now because I don't have communication with most of my coworkers because of this situation. But I'm sure that in Fort Lee, it's very similar to what Mrs. Rampa and Mrs. Richter has expressed. So I'm glad that it seems to be a consensus to pay them, and I really think it's very important that they get everything they deserve, because this whole matter, as we all know, was no fault of their own. Thank you. Have a nice evening.
Thank you, Howard. Mr. Sarnoff.
Oh, don't unmute him.
And I was going to say something nice about you, Ken. I think I'm going to have to withdraw that. Good evening, everyone. I want to echo some of the sentiments and just congratulate the board, the administration, Mr. Rhoda, Ms. Taylor, Dr. Amato, Jason Ruggiero, and the board. I mean, serving in your positions in non-pandemic times is challenging and difficult, and under these circumstances, it takes it to another level. I was impressed with how things have come together, how classes are working online, how homework is being distributed, and interaction among students and with faculty seems to be working well. So I just wanted to give the district credit for acting under very short order to bring all these logistically difficult components together. And I thank you for your efforts and everything you're doing for the community. It's really important. And I'll even say greetings and hello to Mr. McKeever and thank him for his effort supporting the board. So that's all I wanted to say. Thank you, and be safe, be well, and I look forward to seeing everybody in person one day.
Thank you.
Bye, Dave. Bye, Dave.
Emily.
Thank you, David. Next up is David Smith.
Hello, I have a daughter that should be starting kindergarten in the fall. It might be quite early given you guys have a lot on your plate right now, but I'm curious if there are any updates on, say, registration or anything, or whether I should just call back in a few months.
The kindergarten registrations are ongoing on an individual basis, doing it online. So, Mr. Smith, you're probably just in the list waiting to be called. We're trying to do as much as we can electronically to prepare for the fall.
Sweet. Thanks a lot.
Okay.
Thank you.
Julene?
Hi, everybody. How are you?
Hi, Julene.
I know I speak to a lot of you on a daily basis. For those that I don't, I hope you're well. Again, I want to echo my beautiful best friend, Luba, who spoke so eloquently. I'm not as exactly as an eloquent speaker, so I'm just going to get to the point. I agree with her 100%. You know, I can only speak on the intermediate and middle school level. I have been in touch with Rob many times because I have been fielding a lot of phone calls and texts, which I've passed on to him, about the fact that there really is no teaching going on, especially in the intermediate school. And I love my son's teachers. They're all amazing. And I know they're doing the best they can, but I just wanted to echo what Luba said. And I guess you've answered the question that you're going to tackle this tomorrow about possibly getting on Zoom and teaching. Like, I know a lot of the middle school teachers have implemented that this week, and it's working out really well for Ella. And I was hoping that maybe on the intermediate level, they, you know, especially the 5th grade, maybe they could do something like that. I don't know. And I thought maybe if like because there's so many teachers, to take the burden off of them, if maybe like one could do a lesson, then another one could do another lesson, they could share, maybe it would be something that they, you know, maybe you've already thought of this. I'm not sure. Mr. Rhoda?
Yeah, the teachers are working together. They're collaborating on a lot of things, trying to stay in step with each other, but also move efficiently and effectively. So it's like I said, it's still a learning curve for a lot of them, but they are working together. I know that.
Okay, so the other thing is my sister and I are collecting for Englewood Hospital. My brother's a physician there, a lot of masks and any PPE. I'm not sure if we can get that out to the public in any way. If anybody, I have put it on Facebook. Anybody knows of any, you know, if anyone has any PPE to donate, we've been making, you know, making shipments down there once a week. In addition, Tanya and I from the middle school are buying masks for the senior citizens to hand out. I'll keep you posted on that, but just another thing to keep in mind if anybody wants to donate to that. You know, it's just something to think of. And again, we're here for anything you guys need. I don't know if you guys need anything else, if you need help with the lunches, But I also had another thought. Could you pay one of these restaurants like one a week maybe in the center to give out food to kids that didn't want to travel to the middle school or the Fort Lee High School? Like maybe like a bagel shop or something?
Well, Jillian, the money we use comes through Pomptonian is federally funded for those lunches. So I don't know that we could go to a private carrier, but as I said, we're going to expand the program, expand what we're doing. If we see a need and we get inquiries, then we'll think of other options, and maybe something like you're saying may be possible, not so much using a private vendor to serve food, but finding a location somewhere in Midtown or in a different location that we could use. Maybe the public library or something. I don't know. Maybe there's
Right, got it. Okay.
we
Well, if
could
there's
set up
anything we could do,
distribute.
Tanya and I, or, please reach out to us. And thank you again for everything, guys. Hope you guys stay safe.
Jolene, I would encourage you to share your efforts with the people in OEM and the municipal task force. I know that they're trying to coordinate donations of a lot of PPE and also working with the senior citizens very closely. So
Yes, yes, sorry to interrupt you. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
I know that Ms. Skirimbis is a member of the task force, so they're working closely. So I would encourage you to call that number and talk to her, or to talk to Brian Drumgoole, who's the OEM coordinator, and I know they're trying to coordinate a lot of efforts.
Okay, yeah, it was actually Tanya's idea. I think she might have been in touch with them. We're just trying to get as many as we can, probably about 1,000. We've gotten hold of already and to give out to the seniors. They're not going to be the N95s, but the basic masks now that they've been recommended to walk around with them. So anyway, just doing everything we can. But okay, guys, good night. Thank you so much. Have a great
Bye,
night.
Jolene.
Bye,
Bye, Jolene.
guys. Stay healthy.
Thank you, Julene. Margarita?
Hello, I'm Margarita. So I just wanted to support actually what Luba and Julien just said. We are very thankful to all the teachers and for the instructions that they put together. But from the beginning, it looked like it's probably going to be just, maybe 3 weeks or something like that. Now, we kind of understand that it might be, much longer than we thought, maybe even kids don't come back to school. And so I think it's time to maybe for the teachers and TAs, somebody actually mentioned that they can help teachers to put it all together, to start putting together an online actually sessions, Zoom sessions, teaching sessions, because of course, sending the homeworks and getting them back is not really teaching new aspects. So when we talk about few weeks, it's fine. But when we talk about many weeks, it's not okay. They will need, a lot of material. So I just wanted to emphasize. And actually, I know many of the friends in other cities, their kids do Zooms or another platform. I can't say which one, but I think this is a very, very important point. And I talked to many of my friends shortly, and they have the same opinion about it. Thank you so much for focusing on this issue. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Audrey? Or Andrew? I'm sorry.
Can't hear him.
Audrey?
Andrew, I think it is.
Lips are moving, but you can't hear anything.
I can't even see anything.
Can't hear him.
Andre, you might want to try to take out your earplugs. The headset actually
Oh,
might go to your actual mic.
Andrew, can you take your earplugs out? Maybe unplug it from
Andre,
the...
yeah.
Andre,
unplugged, yeah.
Andre.
We
They're not
still can't
connected.
hear you. So can you, is it connected?
Or he could do the chat. He chatted before, so if you want to type the chat.
Or you can always email a question to me.
He did the group chat before as well. I don't know if it's the same question he's going to be asking.
Oh,
There he goes.
He said, not sure who can respond to this question, but I will try. Having individual Chromebooks appeared to be a huge advantage for our students. But as as I see from my middle school kids, they would greatly benefit from having physical textbooks, namely in science. What are our options? What are parents' options? Thank you.
Right now, we don't have the options. I believe, I'm not sure, Dr. Amato can maybe answer that question better. Do we have textbooks, or are we doing it with all online textbooks now? Sharon, you're muted.
You're muted.
You're
Sharon.
muted.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we do have textbooks. We may not have enough for everyone, given that we've gotten some new kids, but the entire textbook is available online. And one of the thoughts was the kids have full access to all of the materials online. So as long as they have a license, they have the textbook. It's just a digital copy.
It's not that convenient, sadly.
Well, we'll discuss it with our administrators at the middle school.
Right now, though, I don't know that I can put teachers or administrators or custodians in a position of having to go into the building and distributing several hundred textbooks. That's a bit of a challenge. I hope you can understand that.
Can we buy them online? Can we buy actual textbooks online? He asks.
I would assume so. Sharon, any reason?
They usually, many of the textbooks are available through Amazon.
Through Amazon is probably your best source. Yeah.
Yeah, and you can get used ones too at a good price.
Mm-hmm.
Seeing no other raised hands.
There's one.
Okay. Scott?
Hi, this is Audrey, actually. Can you hear me?
We can.
Okay. So it can never be said enough in a time like this that you all have been amazing support, amazing to step up and rise to the occasion of what's personally probably a very challenging time for you. And in addition, the educational time is very challenging. You've said from the very beginning that we should be patient, we should be understanding, and at least from my perspective and my circle of friends, and I've been very active in the schools, on the PTA board, we have tried, and we are. What became a little bit problematic for me this week was that all the patience and understanding that we've been told to have for the teachers and the board, which I give 100%, is not necessarily being given to the children. All of a sudden, report cards are coming out, and there have been some issues. Now, I have a straight A student, so if going to a B-, I get that these are not such necessarily crazy things to worry about in this time where health and food and shelter, as you all said, are the most important. But I do think there's an emotional component to this, and the children don't have a structure to the day. I understand that teachers can't be with the kids from 9 to 3, even 9 to 2, but they check in at one point in the morning and they do their work, and they're sort of done. And electronics, as we all know, are very scientifically proven to mess with your mind and your brain and your neurons. And we as parents are having to deal with those challenges. Not all parents are working from home or not working when they're home. So in my position, personally, I still have to go to work. I'm an essential, I work at a pharmaceutical company. We deliver drugs to the country as well as Puerto Rico and Hawaii. And we're busier than ever. And I'm now having to do physical things in my job that I've never had to do. Then I have my husband who's trying to work at home, and lucky that he still has his job. And teachers are telling us that parents are responsible for creating this structure during the day. And I'm just here to say that that's very difficult for us. And I have kids that are usually very athletic, so their time within these, we've had great rules in place before this, but as we're all saying, this is a very different. And so the same understanding that we have to give to all of us and our own jobs and your own families, we have to give to the kids. And my kids are doing well, but then they're starting to miss things, or there's 3 clicks really. It has to be done, it has to be submitted, then you have to go to this place to submit. So they forgot, or maybe the internet crashed. Some teachers are very understanding. Some teachers have been scolding. My son's not performing to the extent that he might have been when he was in school. These are things that I'm hearing from other parents as well, and whether it's just needing to be heard, it's not a criticism, it's just a little bit more of an awareness. It's not homeschooling, it was distance learning. And I'm starting to feel like a bad parent, and my son is getting punished now. And all of a sudden I stopped and realized that my husband and I looked at each other, what are we doing? We're yelling at our kids. They're going to remember this time in the future that, you know, they got punished every day and their dad was mad at them. Then their mom came home and said, how could you not be doing your schoolwork? I just want to implore you guys to think about this on an emotional level as well as an academic level. It's not just about the curriculum, because I think we all know when they come back to school, they're going to have to learn all of this over again. Nobody's ever going to be able to say you're where you should be and we don't have to reteach a lot of this work. There's other things that we can be working with the kids on that maybe are not so curriculum based, that are a little bit more emotional. Professor Rhoda, you've sent out lovely emails with wonderful suggestions, but we're not home to take out Monopoly. And we're not home to go take the kids for a walk. And we're not patient enough right now to be able to say, you can't play Fortnite 12 hours a day. I appreciate you listening. Again, this is not a criticism. I'm really appreciative of all our teachers. I know they're trying as hard as they can, and they have many issues on their plate. Mrs. Giacomelli once said something that always stuck with me, that we never know what backpack everyone brings to school, what backpack the teacher brings to school, what backpack the kids bring to school. And we all just have to keep that in mind. Report cards are coming up, and I don't understand how everything is different except for grading. I thank you for hearing me.
Thanks for your comments.
Where's the cord charger thing?
Thank you for
Charger.
sharing your perspective. I do appreciate you sharing with us.
The last comment I believe that we have is from Jordan Sarnoff. He asks, has the board explored moving to a pass-fail option for grades 7 through 12?
The board has not, since I haven't brought it to the board yet. It's been briefly discussed among the administrative team. At this point, we decided not to move in that direction. As of now, things may change as this situation lengthens, but everything is open for discussion.
Yay, Jordan.
I was actually going to say, is that something we should consider for the grades below below high school?
Right, at the upper level, especially the high school, would directly impact PTA, and you know, we'd have to calculate how that would be added in. Although everybody in the country is going to be impacted by this also.
Right, right. No, as a parent of an 11th grader, I know how much, you know, they definitely keep track, but that's why I was thinking, you know, maybe everyone, you know, below 9th grade, maybe going pass fail is something we should consider to take that pressure off.
Well, remember, K-4, we're doing a standards based too.
Oh,
It's
right.
not quite
So,
the same thing.
right.
You know, you're talking about really like 5 through 8, where the grading is still traditional. And that's But like I said, we're having ongoing discussions about this and other academic issues, but there really hasn't been a strong consensus among the administrators that we need to do that yet. it's a discussion we'll have, and if necessary, I will bring to the board for more discussion.
Well, as a parent of a senior, where their GPAs can be affecting college, I think it should be considered too.
Well, there's a lot of schools, Holly, that don't even have GPAs. They're unranked schools who don't publish rankings.
Right.
So, there's lots of options moving forward.
But yet on the transcript, that's what the colleges are asking for, so.
Right, but if you don't rank your students and if you don't do
Everybody
a
in the same
GPA,
boat, yeah.
all right, you just put that on your transcript when you send it out. The school sends a profile along with the transcript. If we are a non-ranking, non-GPA school, we would put that in there so any college application would see that.
There is.
You want to read that one question on the comments?
From Anne's iPhone.
Yeah.
Does anyone know if there are other options other than Zoom for instructional learning? New York City has done away with Zoom due to privacy concerns.
There are multiple. There's using Google Chats. There's something called WebEx, which is another service. GoToMeeting.com is another service. So I spoke earlier this week with Mr. Ruggiero, our tech coordinator, and he's doing some homework on all those things, trying to determine which option. So far, the district, we have not had any comments or complaints about any confidentiality issues with Zoom. So the teachers have been moving forward with that. But there's a number of different formats and ways of communicating with students. Really, we've been sending out all those resources to the teachers to look at that. I mean, there literally are pages of resources of online instructional materials and just ways of doing it that differ. So that's something we constantly look at. One of the things we discussed earlier was, buying a Zoom subscription. Should we invest maybe with WebEx or with GoToMeeting? But we're looking at all the options out there.
Okay. Thank you, Anne. All right. I think that might be the end of all the questions and comments from the public. And we will have a motion to close the floor to the public.
Motion.
Ramba.
All right. I heard Holly, so motion by Mrs. Morel, second by Mrs. Ramba. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Anyone opposed? Hearing none, we will move on to resolutions. May I have a motion to approve items 1B through 7B?
Motion, Paula.
Second, Ramba.
Okay. Motion Colbath, seconded by Ramba.
Ms. Cho?
Yes.
Ms. Colbath?
Yes.
Mr. DeMeglio?
Yes.
Ms. Morel?
Yes.
Ms. Richter?
Yes.
Ms. Ramba?
Yes.
Mr. Rubino?
Yes.
Ms. Tuck?
Yes.
Ms. Han Silver?
Yes.
Motion passes.
May I have a motion to approve items 1F through 5F?
Motion, Ramba.
Second, Morel.
Okay. Motion Ramba, seconded by Cho. I did see you, Elisa.
Ms. Cho?
Yes.
Ms. Colbath?
Yes.
Mr. DeMeglio?
Yes.
Ms. Morel?
Yes.
Ms. Richter?
Yes.
Ms. Ramba?
Yes.
Mr. Rubino?
Yes.
Ms. Tuck?
Yes.
Motion passes.
May I have a motion to approve items 1P through 6P?
Motion Morel.
Seconded, Ramba.
Ms. Cho?
Yes.
Ms. Colbath?
Yes.
Mr. DeMeglio?
Yes.
Ms. Morel?
Yes.
Ms. Richter?
Yes.
Ms. Ramba?
Yes.
Mr. Rubino?
Yes.
Ms. Tuck?
Yes.
Ms. Han Silver?
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right. May I have a motion to approve item 1POL?
Motion, Colbath.
Second Morel.
Ramba.
Second.
Okay. Motion Colbath, second Morel.
Ms. Cho?
Yes.
You said yes, Ms. Cho?
Yes.
Thank you. Ms. Colbath?
Yes.
Mr. DeMeglio?
Yes.
Ms. Morrell,
Yes.
Ms. Richter,
Yes.
Ms. Ramba,
Yes.
Mr. Rubino,
Yes.
Ms. Tuck. Thank you. Motion passes.
All right, moving on. Is there any old business? All right, I'm checking all my squares here. You know what? It's like, it reminds me of Hollywood Squares.
I knew you were going to say that, Esther. I knew you were going to say that.
All right, is there any new business?
Could I actually just open up the conversation then to kind of go back? And I know that you said you're going to talk to the administrators about the 5th through 8th grade possibly going to a pass-fail, but if we could discuss it as a board, would that be something that we could do now, or would we have to do that in another board meeting?
No.
You can
Sorry, Ken, if you can unmute, that would be great.
You guys can discuss it anytime you like. It's under new business. If you'd like to bring it up, you can discuss it. To be honest, like I said, we've discussed it very briefly, but we didn't feel there was a need to do something that drastic yet. Because K through 4 is standards-based, so it really doesn't apply there. So it'd really only be 5th grade and above.
Yeah, and I guess because I have a 5th grader, I can understand the sentiment of Audrey, who expressed her concern before, because even for my own daughter, you know, she had submitted an assignment and she got like a 50 on it, but it's because she missed a question or whatever else it is. And I could see how if you have students who usually, you know, perform at a particular level, it's incredibly stressful, and you don't know the environment that every student is in. So I think if we can just start the discussion, I think it would be very helpful.
Okay, well, I will definitely add it to my agenda for tomorrow morning's meeting. If there are any other board members who have comments or want to share their thoughts.
Well, I think that's where we should start first with the administrators and the teachers, and because they'll have a better outlook on it than we will right now.
Yeah, I think maybe, you know, see, you know, how are the kids doing, you know, what the performance has been like. Because if they're seeing this and if they're thinking, yeah, you know, it has been affecting their performance, then we really shouldn't hold it against them, because these really are extraordinary times, and we should recognize that and acknowledge that, yes, it does affect them too. It's not business as usual, even for our kids. And just to, you know, take that burden away and just say, okay, you know what, let's make it a pass-fail. You know, maybe that's something that could be given consideration.
And just in addition to discussing with the administrators, Ken, if there's anything that you or Dr. Amato or someone else from the team can provide us in terms of neighboring districts or through your superintendent's groups to see what, if there's a benchmark or what some of the other districts are doing. And obviously this is unprecedented, uncharted territory, but if there's anything that we would know for kids that are applying either to colleges or high schools, obviously we want them to stay in district, but there may be various situations in those grades. My kids are younger than that, but how that might affect their next year or the following year.
Yeah, Lauren, my initial reaction to the future question is that, you know, this will impact every school and every student in the county and the state. So when it comes to applying for the competitive high schools, I would assume that they'll have to take this into account for everyone. You know, the whole grading, whether it's a grade or a pass-fail. The other part that I'll mention is that this has already come up for discussion amongst the superintendents. And of right now, there are a small percentage of districts, maybe less than 10, that responded to a survey that we sent out that they are considering pass-fail options. So, but as the time goes on, those things may change.
Also, I think apart from just even the performance or the grade is perhaps implementing other interventions where students who had been perhaps struggling, you know, I don't know if there is a way to do like a one-to-one for, you know, just changing up our instruction in that sense too, because I know that some of the teachers are implementing Zoom this week, I think it is, for some of the classes, but maybe even doing I don't even know if like, hey, we're going to designate 10 minutes with you one-to-one, or, whatever else it is, if that's something that's possible too.
Well, there'll be no one-to-one. No teacher will be online
No.
with a student by themselves. And that's just not good advice for teachers. But, teachers can set up, remember, our basic skills program is still running. Our Title I teachers are still working, providing reinforcement to the students who are in those groups. So they are working with them, providing support. The gen ed teachers are also available. If students reach out to them, they should be getting a response from the teacher, whether it's a email or it could be an online chat kind of thing with one or two students. But if that's not happening, then they need to call their principal right away, or me, and let us know. But just like a normal school day, the teachers are still be providing extra help for those students who need it.
All right. If that's it, just some closing thoughts I had for everybody. I just want to acknowledge that it's hard for everybody. Parents, teachers, administrators, we're all doing something new, whether it's with our jobs, juggling jobs, and trying to teach our kids at home. Don't worry about setting realistic expectations for yourselves. I mean, honestly, for myself, I'm working from home right now, and I still can't manage to get dinner, at a decent time because my workload has just gone through the roof lately. But yeah, don't feel guilty. You're not managing to bake homemade bread or learning how to knit or some of these other things that somehow other people manage to do. But yeah, look out for yourselves, look out for each other, look out for your neighbors. And there's a lot of resources out there. I know Ken is always sending everything out in his updates. So please look at those updates and share it with your neighbors. If they don't know about all the resources that are available in our community, if you haven't signed up for Nixle, sign up for Nixle to get all the text updates from the town. The OEM has set up a phone number so that you can call and, be in touch with all the resources that are available. If you can't get out to get groceries, they will help you. If you need masks or if you need supplies. Now they've even set up a link where if you just need someone to talk to, they will find someone to talk to you, so then you could find someone to talk to if you're home alone. Yeah, I mean, we're all separated physically, but honestly, we've never been more united as a community, and it's pretty amazing to see how everyone's working together. So please, let's keep it up, and who knows how long this will go, but honestly, the human spirit has been great. So it's heartening to see.
Esther, can I just add one thing when you're finished?
Yeah.
I just want to say, as a teacher, I'm having not a hard time listening to all of this, but I know you take the perspective, I'm not in the Fort Lee staff, but you have to understand that a lot of teachers, my daughter sits here all day on the computer longer than she's even supposed to be. And Zoom isn't the end all either. I teach kindergarten, it's a whole different creature, but remember, people have 27 children in their class. Zoom isn't the end all to do it. You have parents that aren't participating, and not that parents have to sit there teaching them, but they're not picking up their work or doing things for them. We have the exceptions, of course, that come to our meetings. That's not, not to be misinterpreted, that we know they're concerned, but not everybody else is on top of it. And it really is a new world for all of us. Again, I only teach kindergarten, and I hand-delivered packets myself to their houses because people don't have printers. So there's a lot of different things going on, and everybody, really is a learning curve for everybody, even using Zoom. I went on Zoom the other day, my kids were all talking, they weren't listening to me at all. I had muted everybody, they still didn't listen. So it really is, like Esther said, you have to bear with everybody. It really is a learning curve. I know people want to do more. Of course, there's the usual people that like to sit back and not do it, but majority of, I know the staff in Fort Lee is on the game here, and really give everybody a little bit more time and effort to get used to this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Esther, could I just add something?
Sure.
I know everyone's home circumstances are different. We had a parent before saying that, essential employees and other people are home trying to work. I had to reach out to my kids' teachers because I'm the one sitting at the computer trying to teach all day. My husband's at work on 12-hour shifts as an essential employee. I wasn't getting my first graders' work started until 3:30 p.m. I had to reach out to the teachers and explain this isn't getting submitted before the end of your normal school day because I have no time to dedicate to him until after my school day is done. So even just reaching out to the individual teachers, they're very understanding once you explain your situation to them. And they really are going above and beyond to make everyone's day a little bit easier if you just take 5 minutes and send them an email and explain it to them. So I just wanted to add that.
Good point.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Have a good night. I have a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Rhonda, second.
Okay. Motion Rubino, seconded by Ramba. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Thank you, everybody.
Stay safe, guys.
Stay well, everybody.
Stay safe.
Stay healthy.
Safe.
All right.
Bye.
See everybody soon. Bye.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.